Hello, brave, wonder-filled soul friends. Welcome back to another Conversations with Kristin, that beautiful part of your day where you explore human consciousness from the inside out. So before I get started, representing C4 right now. I got a few of their shirts. If you're looking for a highly reputable, words are funny, reputable CBD brand, I highly recommend them. This isn't a paid promotion or anything. I just love their products. like their CBD edibles have absolutely saved me when my body was in excruciating physical pain and when my anxiety was out the roof. It was an absolute lifesaver. So check them out, especially if you live in the state of Washington, which is where they're based from. So today I want to talk about the brain's neural networks. What are they? Why do they matter? How do they become wired? How do they impact us? And what do we do about them if our brain's neural networks are haywire in their wiring? So I talk a lot about rewiring the brain. I rewired my brain from the inside out. I did the impossible. From the deepest depths of darkness, I transcended, rose into my power, and lovingly rewired my brain, curing dozens of battles that hundreds of doctors had deemed incurable. So our brain has trillions of networks. It's a pretty incomprehensible number. The amount of networks our brain has are so vast and complex that even the top neuroscientists don't fully understand it. Even with all our advances, the brain is still a giant mystery. But we do know a few things, thankfully. We live in a time where we are continuing to evolve in our knowledge and understanding of who we are as a human species. And so our brain has trillions of neural networks, and each one has a coding of information. And so let me give you an example. Right now, you're sitting or laying down or standing up, maybe walking, and you're watching this video. In this process, you somehow automatically know how to exist where you are and look at a screen and understand that there's a person speaking who is not you. You understand that this is separate from you, to some degree anyway, right? We all have different experiences of consciousness. But you can understand that I am a human being that is not you. And then I'm moving my mouth and I'm creating vocal vibrations, and somehow your brain is interpreting them into meaning-making messages. Somehow this globbity gloop stuff, somehow this is creating such particular vocal vibrations that your brain is interpreting it into language and meaning-making messages. If I were to stand here and say, cow train, jump, there wouldn't be much understanding on your end. And yet I'm here somehow creating vocal vibrations that allow for your brain to process the information. And there's probably a whole bunch of other stuff going on. You're probably breathing. Most likely you are breathing right now. And you're not necessarily having to sit there and be, okay, inhale, okay, exhale, okay, inhale. Maybe you are, maybe it's been a panicky day, but for the most part, people don't need to think about their breathing. It's something that just happens. It might not be the deepest of breaths, but you are breathing. There is life force going in and out of you naturally, sustaining your existence right now. And in the backdrop, there's all kinds of things. Your nerves are communicating, your cells are communicating, your muscles are communicating, your bones are holding everything into place to some degree. And so there's all of these unconscious miracles going on right now. And it's all related to the brain's neural networks. Your understanding of things, your natural ability for things, has to do with the wiring of your brain-body system. Where you are right now, your body is most likely, again, everyone's different, so this might not always be the case, but most likely you're not sitting there dripped in sweat when you're not moving and going like this because you're trying to figure out who you are and where you are. That's most likely not your reality. Why? Because in the backdrop of your consciousness, your neural networks are giving you these little pieces of information that explain who you are and where you are. You're not like, oh my God, who am I? Where did I get here? How come I have hands? Where did this come from? Huh! Why? Because you have neural networks that are giving you a backdrop to understand your own existence. Imagine waking up one day and you're like, where did these hands come from and how do you use them? what do you do? What do you do with them? Like, can you imagine waking up one day and that's your reality? That's what would happen if your brain's neural networks just suddenly didn't exist. And so our neural networks provide a backdrop of understanding about who we are, where we are, and what life is. You can probably see some roses here. And maybe you can see the color, maybe you can't. But there's these flowers around. What if you didn't know what these were? You'd be like, what are those strange shapes? What is that? Is it gonna eat her? Like you wouldn't have a natural understanding for the basic particulars of everyday experience without your brain's neural networks. This is such a miracle. This is such an ecstatically, exuberantly, extravagantly, excitedly, extraordinarily profound miracle. Like, what? What? Your brain is trillions of networks, and that's providing the unconscious understandings for your everyday existence. Sometimes we feel hunger. Again, everyone's different. Some people maybe don't experience the sensation of hunger. I didn't used to experience that. But for a lot of us, we experience sensations of hunger. When that's happening, you're not like, what's my body doing? Oh my God, there's strange sounds and strange feelings and I don't know what's happening. It feels like the world is ending and I feel cranky. No, you're like, I think I'm hungry. I think I'd like some food. It's most likely your experience of hunger. Not necessarily, but most likely. And so there's all of these things going on and our brain somehow knows how to interpret the particulars of them. We don't wake up and look outside and we're like, oh my God, it's light out. A few hours ago it was dark and now it's light. I don't understand what is happening. Who is performing voodoo magic in the sky? No, you wake up and you're like, okay, it's another day. The sun is shining. It went down and now it's up. And that means it's a day that was not yesterday. It is today. You have these natural innate understandings about life, about who you are, what's happening within you and around you. All of that information is coming from your brain's neural networks. I wouldn't know how to stand here and speak and articulate my thoughts while breathing and feeling my feet on the ground and understanding that it's daytime, etc., if I didn't have my brain's neural networks. So clearly, they're really important. Like, in case you didn't get that. Brain neural networks are super important. They matter. So where do they come from? What's going on? How did we get from being a goo goo gaga infant to over here being like, I know that I am a person? How do we get there? Experience. Experience single-handedly shapes our neural networks. And so this is a perfect example. So a bee just flew by me. And I had a brief moment there where a part of me had fear, and then a part of me did not have fear. That was coming from two separate activations of neural networks. One activation of the neural network was from early childhood when I got stung by a bee. It's only happened twice. Twice in my entire childhood did I ever get stung by a bee. And yet those two incidences, 2 days of thousands of days, stand out. Because we're survival-based creatures in our neurophysiology. And so there were two responses just there. And maybe you even saw it. Maybe you caught it. There was a moment of fear where I tensed up and held back. And then there was a moment of love where I smiled and giggled and let go. It was coming from separate activations of neural networks. One of the neural networks was connected with these fear-based experiences in early childhood where I got stung by a bee. Once when I was young, and then a second time when I was like 10. Once when I was like maybe 6 or 7 or something, and then once when I was 10. And I remember those days so specifically when I don't remember other days in those surrounding weeks. Because the fear-based energy was strong. We're survival-based instincts in our neurophysiology, not our consciousness. Our consciousness is based in a separate energy, but that's another topic for another day. So in that moment, as a bee buzzed by me, like just like a minute ago or whatever, activation of two neural networks. One was from those fear-based experiences in early childhood, and those fear-based experiences in early childhood continued to be activated every time I saw a bee. And so even though the experience was only 2 days out of thousands of days, the messages of those neural networks continued to be activated over the past 20 years every time I saw a bee. Every time I saw a bee and I tensed up or felt afraid or felt like I needed to run or felt like I wanted to hide or felt concerned about what might happen or felt threatened or felt anything that was fear-based, those neural networks were being activated, and because they were being activated, they were growing. So even though the original neural networks was only these 2 days out of thousands of days of childhood, the neural networks got bigger and bigger and bigger every time they became activated within my experience. Experience is what shapes our neural networks. And it's not just the immediate firsthand experience, it's also the experience of remembering the experience, whether consciously or unconsciously. Every time we're remembering an experience, whether we mean to or not, whether we're aware of it or not, that neural network is being activated, and every time a neural network is being activated, it's growing, it's getting bigger, it's expanding, it's moving shape. It's like, okay, we're a little tiny road. We're gonna like book this out to like 5 lanes now, and we're gonna extend 100 miles. It's getting bigger. It's growing. The neural network is growing every time it's activated. So there was a neural network in that moment being activated from early childhood. Okay, but then there was also a separate neural network that I've grown myself in the past couple of years. And my intention was every time I see a bee, I'm going to focus on my breath instead of focusing on anything else, and I'm going to shift my perspective towards appreciation. I'm going to notice the fuzziness of it. I'm going to notice the wings. I'm going to admire how it creates a sound in the air. I'm going to thank it for pollinating flowers and creating honey. I'm going to shift my perspective about how I perceive these creatures every time I see them. Because I knew that when I saw them, the neural network of fear was being activated, and I didn't want that to be my automated reaction for the rest of my life. I didn't want to go about being afraid of bees for the rest of my life. And so every time a bee would come by, I'd, you're beautiful, thank you, oh, you're beautiful. Focus on my breath, focus on the shift in perspective. And so I've grown a neural network in my brain in reaction to bees. And so as a bee just buzzed by me a few minutes ago, I felt both of those neural networks being activated. But the fear-based one was much less strong than it ever has been in my life, and the love-based neural network was much stronger than it has ever been in my life. And so that's like just a perfect little side example. Back to what I was saying. What grows our neural networks? Experience. And so the experience begins the moment we're born. That first second that you're crying and screaming when you come out of the womb, your neural networks are starting to be wired. Perhaps even before that, but as far as I understand, it's the moment you're born. It's like this magical, your neural networks are being shaped by personal experience. And so between ages 0 and 15, the foundation of our consciousness, or I should say the foundation of our neurophysiological applications of consciousness, the foundation of the brain-body system that houses our consciousness is developed. The foundational layer is grown and built from the ground up through experience. And so a lot of this has to do with attachment development. The attachment development that we experience, the styles in which we experience love, receiving love, giving love, observing love, and protecting love. This is what shapes the development of our 4 types of subconscious parts, according to the miraculous inner being diagram of consciousness that I have created. So experience of love shapes our subconscious realms, and all of life experience shapes our neural networks. So we have these neural networks in our brain, and they're growing through experience. And so what does that look like? What do neural networks look like, right? And this is something, I don't even know how far neuroscience has gone, but I've studied human consciousness from the inside out. A lot of what I know is through thousands of hours of self-hypnosis combined with my own neuroscience research and attachment development research. And so our neural networks each have a message, and they're all connected. So when you think about one thing, it's connected with all these other networks, and then depending which route you go down, you're over here now, and then this is connected with all these neural networks, and then depending which route you go down, this is connected with all the neural networks. And so there's all of these complex connections, and so that's why you might find your mind kind of wandering. You start here on a topic, and then you end up over here on a completely different topic, and you're like, how did I get there? Like, what were the trains of thought that connected those worlds? It was the neural networks in your brain. And so maybe I start and I'm like, okay, the sun is shining, it's a beautiful day. Oh man, you know, when the sun's shining, it makes me want to go for a hike. Man, the last time I went for a hike, I noticed some wild pigs. Man, pigs are so crazy. I raised a pig once, but it was a different breed of pig. I remember that, and then I showed it at the fair, and suddenly I'm thinking about the fairgrounds that I was at when I was 10 years old, and it started by noticing the sun shining. Like, what? You know? And so that's just like one of infinite examples. Our brain's neural networks are all complexly connected. And so understanding these connections can help us. Because if we're having any kind of life thing, it doesn't even need to be a mental health battle. That's just one example. It could be a relational thing. It could be a dream chasing thing. It could be a mental health thing. It could be an anything thing. Whether it's, anger issues or self-esteem issues or trust issues, whether it's the ability to connect and communicate with other people, whether it's anxiety or depression, whether it's struggling with, self-doubt as you're trying to chase a dream, whether it's struggling with, being able to express yourself and voice your thoughts and just articulate what's going on inside of you. All of these different things can be healed and transformed and empowered and uplifted in a very beautiful, empowering, good feeling sort of way when we reach in to our brain's neural networks and do the work down there. Because that's where all this stuff is coming from. The way we perceive ourselves, the way we feel about ourselves, the way we think about ourselves, the way we perceive the outside world, the way we feel about the outside world, the way we feel about other people, the way we perceive other people, all of it's coming from our brain's neural networks. And so if there's a battle somewhere in any of the topics, severe, moderate, it doesn't matter. We're all worthy of continually evolving into the greatest versions of ourselves so we can experience peace, joy, and fulfillment like never before. We're all worthy of that. Every person on the planet is on a healing journey of life. They might not know it, but I promise you, every human being on the planet is on a healing journey of life. We are all healing into something, into someone. We're all going through something, trying to get a little better wherever we are with whatever we're doing. We're all on a healing journey of life. So no matter the particulars, if we dive into the neural networks and into the consciousness that's creating all of these experiences, we can transform them. Super mystical voodoo magic stuff. And so every reaction, every perception, every idea, every thought, every feeling is stemming from a series of neural network activations or activity. And so the bee is a great example. If I have a severe phobia of bees where I freeze up and I start dripping sweat and panicking, and I feel like I can't move, but I also feel like running 20 miles, and I feel like I'm gonna cry, and I feel like I'm gonna scream, and I don't feel safe, and my clarity of thought is gone, and suddenly I'm not a person, I'm just straight up vibration of fear. That could be called a phobia, right? Or severe anxiety. But all that's happening is a series of neural network activity that I can rewire if I choose to. What's happening is the stimulus of perceiving a bee is activating neural networks associated with that thing, and it's producing certain messages that are affecting the activations of my neurophysiology. And so my belief system about the bee is affecting the way my nervous system regulates itself. That's pretty wild to think about. Our belief system affecting our nervous system regulation automatically. That's pretty wild. That's pretty profound, deep stuff. That's pretty fascinating. And so when we can notice the activation of a particular neural network we wish to reprogram, we can do that. We all have the power within our energy. We all have the power to rewire our brains if we choose to. Every single human on the planet is capable of reprogramming their brain if they really wanted to. That's pretty exciting. It means there's an infinite realm of opportunity, an infinite realm of potential for anyone to become anything. Just breathe into that hope, soul friends. Breathe into that infinite potentiality that lies within you. Yay! So, we'll go a few different ways. I have so much to say on this topic. I might need to do a couple different videos. So, one, if you ever want help rewiring your brain, if you ever want help rewiring your consciousness, if you ever want help reclaiming your power, if you ever want help with any of these topics, I would be honored to connect with you. I offer consciousness consulting services where we get together and share sacred healing space and dive deep into how you can befriend the miraculous consciousness that carries you. Everything that's happening within your personal perception of your own life experience is coming from inside of your consciousness. The outside world might be activating things in a particular way. It definitely plays its role, but all the specifics of how you're experiencing yourself and the world around you are coming from your consciousness. So if there's something that's not ideal, you deserve to embrace your healing journey in deeper ways and transform what you're experiencing so life can feel a whole lot better. You deserve that, and I would be honored to guide you through that process. So please feel free to email me at artistryofexistence@gmail.com to schedule your consciousness consulting call, or you can check out my links below for more information. I share pieces of my story and explains a little bit more about my services, and there's rates and reviews you can browse as well. So neural networks in our brain, understanding ourselves from the inside out, perceptual awareness. Perceptual awareness is a big deal. When we go outside, what do we see, and how do we think, and how do we feel about what we see and what we think? Is the morning time, oh man, it's a gorgeous day, it's a beautiful day to be alive, I love every breath I take? Or is the morning time, oh my God, I have to do this again, are you kidding me? I can't. Let me just stay in bed 24 more hours and we'll try this again tomorrow. Like, I get it, because I've experienced both those realms. To really vast extremes, I've experienced these realms of being so in love with life when I wake up, which is my more recent experience, and waking up just loathing the day and loathing my existence because it felt impossible. And I was there for many years, so I understand. The way we automatically perceive ourselves and the day depends on the activation of our neural networks. Perceptual awareness comes from our neural networks. Do you look at the dreams you have and the goals you want to chase and you're like, oh man, I'm so jazzed, I'm going to conquer the world, it feels so good to know that I'm worthy, I love rising into my power, I love embodying my dreams, I love chasing the things that ignite my heart and just make me feel so passion for life? Or do you look at your goals and you're like, oh my God, I could never do that if I tried. Like I don't even know how to break that down into steps. Like, what was I even thinking? Why would I dream so big? I can't even look at my goals right now. It makes me want to cringe and cry. You know, there's these different automated perceptions we experience, and it's coming from the activation of our brain's neural networks. It's coming from the deep crevices and corners of our consciousness. And so any truth that we hold is only true in our reality because of our brain's neural networks. If I look at something and I say, the thing is that, and you look at that something and you say, no, the thing is this, who's right? We're both respectively right because we're both standing in our truth according to our brain's neural networks. Our neural networks are based on experience. Everything that we perceive is based on experience. Everything we feel is based on experience. And so when it comes to a life of experiencing chronic traumas, decades of traumatic stress, decades of repeated traumas, decades of continuous pain, which I can relate with because I have experienced that as well. That means our experiences are based in the deepest depths of darkness, and that has wired our brains. Well, what then? What do we do with a brain that is completely based in pain, fear, and trauma? We rewire it, friends. We don't need to stay stuck in a brain. We don't need to stay stuck in a brain of traumatic stress. We are not our experiences. We are not our thoughts. We are not our feelings. We are not the wiring of our neurophysiology. That is not the identity of who we are. Sorry, I got something in my eye. My hair is poking my eyeball. We are not our experiences. We are not our neurophysiological wiring. We are not the wiring of our brain. And this is really important to remember because when our brain's being activated in a certain way, we're allowed to disidentify with the experience. Going back to the bee, it's just a really good example. The bee flies up, I freeze, I panic. If I say I am the freeze and I am the panic and I am the fear, then I don't have power because my identity and my experience are being related with one another. But if I can notice and I say I'm noticing a sensation of fear, I'm noticing a sensation of panic, I'm noticing my muscles tensing up. If I can be the observer of my experience and distinguish or create separation between my identity and my experience, then I have space to ground in my identity and consciously respond to my experience to transform both. You are not your experiences. You are not defined by what you have gone through. You are not defined by the way your neural networks are wired right now. And you always have the power to transform it. Yes, it's a gradual process. Yes, it takes time and daily effort. But friends, there is infinite hope. Anything is possible, and I am living proof of that. I am living proof of that. My world has radically changed in the past year. And even more profoundly, radically changed in the past 2 years. You can check out my Igniting a Hope Revolution video if you want a more personal peek about that. I also have some blog articles where I share story pieces, and those links are down in the description below. So there's infinite hope, and isn't it so much better to work every day towards a hope than to not have hope? Isn't it worth it to show up and invest in our healing journey of life every day, knowing that 1 or 2 years from now, life can be completely different for the rest of our lives? Isn't that worth it? I mean, I think so, and I believe that you're worth it. I believe that your happiness and your well-being are worth fighting for. You deserve to live in a consciousness that feels good to experience. You deserve a safe haven in the home of your heart. You deserve to be friends with yourself, best friends with yourself. You are the only life partner you are ever guaranteed. Let that sink in. What would you do for a life partner that you are lovingly going to spend the rest of your life with? Would you look at them and just be like, meh, you got issues. I don't want to deal with that. Or would you be like, oh my goodness, you're hurting. Let me be there for you. Let me love you whole. Let me love you whole. Let me love you whole. Let me heal you into happiness. Let me heal you into happiness. Speaking of healing into happiness, I'm coming out with a brand new book very soon. It's called Healing into Happiness Playbook. It's like a workbook, but with a whole lot more play. All of the prompts in it, so it's filled with activity prompts or play prompts. And all of them are based in 2 particular things. One is a whole lot of loving fun. It's intended to be easy. It's intended to be doable for any walk of life. It's intended to have a positive experience within it, to have fun, lightheartedness, to have playful presence. It's designed to be easy and enjoyable. And then the second aspect about it is that they're all designed, every prompt is designed to help with the aspects of mental health. Mental health is 6 key components. Count here, 6. 6 key components to mental health. And this is all concepts I've created. All original concepts I've created from scratch while completely healing and transforming my life from the inside out of my neurophysiological applications of consciousness. Such a fun phrase. 6 key components to mental health. Brain-body integration, integration of brain regions, or another phrasing of that is connectivity of consciousness. Integration just means the neural networks have connection with each other. That's all that means. It's a neuroscience thing. Brainwave regulation, nervous system regulation, habits of mind, and habits of body. And when these 6 key components of mental health address the 13 aspects of personhood that shape who we are, and if you want to know more about that, you can check out my video. I think it's called, What Does It Mean to Be a Person? And it talks about my pyramid of personhood, introducing the 13 aspects of personhood. And these concepts are also used in my miraculous inner being diagram of consciousness. And so the second aspect of my Healing into Happiness playbook is that it addresses these things. It regulates the nervous system, regulates the brain waves, regulates balance between brain hemispheres, increases frontal lobe engagement, helps transform unconscious memory systems, affecting a vast majority of our personal experiences unfolding, even though we don't really know that it's all about memories being unconsciously activated. It's doing all of these things to actually rewire our brain-body system. And so this Healing into Happiness playbook creates space for these beautiful new experiences of loving presence through playful encounters with your own consciousness. Practicing presence with love in a way that's very easy to integrate into everyday life. You can do them very easily in your everyday routine. And it's actually rewiring your brain in the process. And so there's dozens and dozens and dozens of original prompts I've created. Oh, so much fun. Oh my goodness. I've spent years developing these ideas, and they've really, really helped me transform my life in a way that feels good and actually works. And then in the book, there's also guidance. So you can choose some of your favorite prompts or some of the ones that were most beneficial and create weekly or monthly daily rituals out of them. which is a whole other topic we'll dive into another time. Daily rituals have a lot of power for the healing journey of life. And it has to do with the way our brain's neural networks go. It all ties together. So if you're interested in my Healing into Happiness playbook, please stay tuned, or you can pre-order one. Email me at artistryofexistence@gmail.com, and I'll get you on the wait list. It will be finished soon. I'm going to go work on it right after I finish this video. And in the meantime, I have my Restoring Consciousness Toolkit available. This is another game changer, profound game changer. It explores human consciousness from the inside out in a way that no one on the entire planet is doing. No one else out there has this information. No one out there is talking about consciousness in exactly this way. It explains, explores, and empowers human consciousness from the inside out. Talks about our subconscious realms with dynamic specificity. Dives deep into the things that shape our subconscious development. Dives deep into the subconscious parts that are energetic communicators between our body and our mind. Gives you a deep understanding of what's happening in the backdrop of your consciousness. And then from this space of understanding, it goes on and on and on with so many tools and resources so you can reclaim your personal power, so that you can be there for your subconscious parts. It also has flowcharts, and it will help you identify presence of subconscious parts, how to recognize that they're there, how to help uncover their underlying fears, needs, and desires, how to help them distinguish between their identity and their experience, and then how to respond in love so that they can start to feel the transformation, the healing transformation that they are innately worthy of. It goes through and it's got step-by-step instructions, how to reclaim your power, how to work with your parts, how to respond to these aspects of life experience. And through these practices, through this innate knowledge and understanding, total transformation can absolutely be achieved. It's a very powerful tool, very priceless resource. So if you're interested in that, you can email me at artistryofexistence@gmail.com or check out my links below for more information. So I just want to wrap up some of this neural network magic. So neural networks, there's trillions of them. There's all these complex connections in our brain associating different things. And these associations are happening in like milliseconds to nanoseconds. So in the amount of time, for example, that the bee buzzed by here was maybe like 1 second. In that 1 second, whereas bzz, bzz, I see the bee, and that's all I consciously know about. In that amount of time, there were hundreds of complex unconscious processes creating an automated response. Messages within our brain's neural networks are happening in milliseconds to nanoseconds. Every nanosecond, a message is being activated within your unconsciousness and affecting the way that you perceive and think and feel and respond in the moments now and to come. So there's a lot happening within our miraculous consciousness and within the neurophysiology that houses our miraculous consciousness. There's a lot going on. So I'll leave you with this, soul friends. Thank your body for its miracles today. Spend a moment of just being in a quiet self-hug, a little loving hug, or maybe in front of a mirror looking into your own eyes. And just be like, wow, you're really complex. That's pretty miraculous. Thanks for being you. I love you. And just spend a moment in that space of appreciation, because you are a miracle. Just being here is a miracle. Life has a lot of complexities that we get to explore, but it all comes back to the miracle of existing. How profoundly miraculous it is to be anything or anyone at all. So take a moment to thank your brain for all the complex neural networks that are shaping your life experience. It might not all feel good, but the fact that you're here thinking and feeling and breathing is miraculous. The fact that you have the opportunity to rewire your brain if you want to is miraculous. The fact that your brain's neural networks exist now is miraculous, and the fact that they can be transformed if you want them to be is miraculous. And we're allowed to honor the miracles inside of us. We might not directly see them or perceive them, and they might not be recognized by other people, but I promise you're filled with miracles, and you are allowed to acknowledge those miracles inside of you with love. You're worthy. You're worth it. You're so worth it. And I also leave you with this. I really encourage you to invest in a little more mindfulness practice when you have these automated perceptions, reactions, thoughts, and feelings. And say something happens and your brain comes up with a story about what is happening or what it means or how you should feel about it. Just challenge it a little bit. Be like, is that really the only way of seeing this? Is that really the only way of feeling about this? And just create space for loving exploration. Become mindful of your automated perceptions and reactions. Become mindful of these automated processes within you. Tune in with playful curiosity about the automatic connection that your brain is making as you move through your unfolding life experience. It creates a lot of space. Creates a lot of space for self-appreciation, self-awareness, self-understanding. And as that little space there expands and expands, we have more space to claim our power and love ourselves deeply and transform our lives from the inside out. It's a very powerful place to be. I love you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Conversations with Kristin. I am so grateful for you. I love you, and I believe in you infinitely. You are already worthy, and I truly believe that the best is yet to come and that we've only just begun. This healing journey invites us all into the greatest versions of who we can be. The greatest gift we can ever give this world is that of our own self-transformation. Namaste, soul friends. The divine light in me sees and honors the divine light in you. I'll see you next time, soul friends. Have a beautiful and blessed day.